Hello cuties! Today is going to be a little bit of a different video. I know everyone has been going through pretty rough times lately, including myself. I've been pretty sick, so I wanted to make a video that is calming and focuses on the subtle beauties of nature and things like that. This is going to be more of an ASMR video, so you don't have to look at the screen because I'm going to be describing a lot of the pages that we're looking at in this book. So if you just want to relax or have this playing in the background, that's fine too. This is a nice story about Fletcher and him learning about the different seasons. This book is called Fletcher and the Falling Leaves. The summary of the book reads, "It's autumn, and Fletcher's favorite tree is slowly changing colors and losing its leaves. Fletcher is very worried. He tells the tree he'll help. But when the very last leaf falls to the ground, Fletcher feels as though he's let down his friend. Until the first day of winter, when Fletcher sees that his tree has turned into a shining, glittering surprise." And here we see Fletcher's tree in a nice little finger painty vibe. The world was changing. Each morning when Fletcher bounded out of the den, everything seemed just a little bit different. The rich green of the forest was turning to a dusty gold, and the soft swishing sound of summer was fading to a crinkly whisper. Fletcher's favorite tree looked dull, dry, and brown. Fletcher was beginning to get worried. Here we see Fletcher gazing up at his tree, and his tree's leaves are slowly changing colors. "I think my tree is sick," said Fletcher. "What's wrong with it?" his mother asked. "Its leaves are turning brown," said Fletcher. "Don't worry, it's only autumn," she said. Fletcher ran back to his tree and patted the rough bark. "Don't worry, it's only autumn," he said. "You'll be feeling better soon." And we see Fletcher and his mother by the fire sharing a cup of tea, and Fletcher hugging the bark of his tree. But the tree didn't get better. Each day, more leaves turned brown. One morning, the wind blew a small brown leaf off of a branch. Fletcher jumped up and caught it, very gently, in his paw. And we see Fletcher leaping up to catch one of the lost leaves from the tree. "Don't worry, tree. I've got your leaf. I'll fix you." Fletcher looked around, picked a piece of grass, and carefully tied the leaf to a branch. Just then, another gust of wind ruffled Fletcher's fur. The little leaf shook itself free and fluttered back to the ground. Fletcher picked it up again and thought very hard. Then he poked the leaf onto a twig and pushed it down firmly. "Now you hold on tight," said Fletcher. "No more flying around." The little leaf gave a tiny rustle in reply. We see Fletcher scolding the leaf for flying off. The next day, a strong wind was blowing through the forest. Fletcher rushed out of the den and ran all the way to his tree. Lots of branches were bare, and little lost leaves spun everywhere. "Don't worry, tree. I'll catch them for you, I promise." Round and round and round whirled Fletcher after the swirling leaves, and we see Fletcher chasing after all the missing leaves from the tree. "Leaves? Wonderful! Just what I need for my nest," said a squirrel. "But these belong to the tree," said Fletcher. "Don't take them away." "The tree doesn't need them anymore," said the squirrel, bounding off. "Help! Help! The wind and the squirrel are stealing our leaves," cried Fletcher. And you see Fletcher calling after the squirrel as he takes a bunch of leaves away from the tree. "Leaves? Terrific! Just what I need to keep warm," said a porcupine, rolling around. "But these belong to the tree," said Fletcher, plucking leaves from the porcupine's needles. "Not any more," snuffed the porcupine, and away he rolled. "Help! Help! The wind, the squirrel, and the porcupine are stealing our leaves," cried Fletcher. And you see a porcupine rolling around in the leaves and them getting all stuck to his needles while Fletcher tries to pick them off. Suddenly, a flock of friendly birds swooped down from the sky. They picked up the leaves in their beaks and poked them onto the tree's branches. Soon, the tree was leafy again, and Fletcher flopped down and smiled. "Thank you, birds, thank you," he gasped as the birds fluttered away. He lay looking up through the leaves at the sky and drifted off to sleep. And we see Fletcher resting under his tree while all the birds return the leaves. But the wind continued to blow, and the branches still danced. The leaves shivered and shook themselves and began to wiggle free. They tossed and turned and twitched and twirled and tumbled to the ground. They brushed Fletcher's ears and nose and filled his dreams with a whispering sound. And we see here that Fletcher's fallen asleep with all the leaves whirling around his head. When Fletcher finally woke up, he couldn't believe his eyes. Instead of a roof of dancing leaves, all he could see were bare branches against the sky. "Oh, tree, I'm so sorry," gulped Fletcher. "All your leaves are gone." But then he saw, high in the branches, one small leaf still holding on. "I won't let the wind steal that one," said Fletcher, and he began to climb. He crawled along to the last leaf and held it firmly onto its branch. All day long the wind blew, and the branch bounced, and Fletcher held tight. "I'll stay with you, leaf," he said. "Don't worry." And we see Fletcher holding on to the leaf. But then, with a sudden whoosh of wind, the branch bounced high, and with a plip, the leaf let go and fluttered like a little flag clutched in Fletcher's paw. Fletcher looked sadly at the leaf he had promised to save. He carried it carefully down the tree and back to the den. He made a cozy little bed for it and gently tucked it in. But all night long he could only think of his tree, all on its own. At dawn, Fletcher tiptoed outside. The wind had finally stopped blowing, and the air was cold. The moon still hung in the clear sky, and the pale stars glimmered. As he came to his favorite tree, Fletcher saw a magical sight. And we see Fletcher walking from his den in the middle of the night. The tree was hung with 1,000 icicles, shining silver in the early light. "You are more beautiful than ever," whispered Fletcher. "But are you all right?" A tiny breeze shivered the branches, making a sound like laughter, and in the light of the rising sun, the sparkling branches nodded. Fletcher gave his tree a hug. Then he went back to the den for a nice, warm breakfast. We see Fletcher looking up at his beautiful tree covered in icicles, shimmering in the light. And that was our book. Thank you everyone for listening all the way through this story. I hope everyone enjoyed this video, even though it is a little bit different than what I normally upload. If you guys want to see more, leave a comment down below and tell me which story you want me to read. I hope everyone has a great day or night wherever you are. and stay cute. Bye bye.